live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning. A lovely, cool 22 degrees centigrade and 72 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. Welcome. This is Safari Live.
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, folks. I am FW, and with me on camera I've got VM. We have just found a herd of elephants, and it looks like it's quite a large herd. I counted maybe a rough estimate of about 15-20 animals. Some beautiful babies in this herd. Let's wait for them. Let's see if they want to show themselves. They are slowly coming towards the road. There's one of those babies. Look how cute that is. I think that baby might be just around a year old. If you saw the adult walking in front of it, normally a good way to check the age is if it can still fit under the mother's belly. Just walk through underneath. It is under a year old, so I think it's just gone over a year. Mum is sniffing the air though. You can see the trunk up, sniffing the air, seeing what's around, figuring out what's happening. I think they might have just come past Sydney's dam, had a bit of water there, and then moved off from there, carrying on with their day, ready for a bit of feeding. I think let's move forward a little bit more and wait for them again to come closer to the road. Get a bit of a closer encounter with them. Got one coming towards us. Oh, we've got the entire herd coming towards us. How's that, Vim? I think if we sit nice and still, they might surround us and walk past us on both sides. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I always enjoy elephants coming past the vehicle and coming quite close. It shows you how small you are actually. Often when you look at elephants in the distance, you really don't see their size, and you're like, oh, they're not that big, until you're either on foot with elephant or they really come close by and past the vehicle. We don't want the mums and the tiny babies too close to us though. That you don't want to separate the mum and baby or get them too close and have any sort of discomfort on their side. Often these babies try and start a fight and then get a fright, run off, and then mum, which is a little bit bigger, finishes or joins in, and that's not the nicest feeling. How amazing is this? It's great to have found a nice big herd like this. We haven't seen elephant. The only elephant since I've been here was that one that I saw, that young male that got pushed out of the herd. And now we've got a nice breeding herd, so it's good to see they're still around and coming back into our area after moving out for feeding. I'm gonna let these two cross the road and then we'll start moving again, follow them, see what they get up to. Folks, we're going to spend a bit more time with these elephants, see what they get up to and see if we can keep with them. For the time being, Taylor's got some action as well, so we're going to head over to Taylor and the lions.
Good morning and welcome to a really beautiful day here in South Africa in the Sabi Sands. Now, as you saw earlier in the pre-drive, we've got the Nkuhuma Pride lions, so all 5 lionesses and 6 cubs, as well as 2 of the Birmingham boys. Now I suppose I better introduce myself, seeing as though I didn't do that earlier. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me this morning we've got Zander, aka Eggsy. No one really calls him by his real name here, but to be fair, no, you don't really get called by your real name when you work. When you work what I do, we always have all these wonderful nicknames. But there's a bit of hostility with the lions this morning. The girls are not very happy that the Birmingham boys are back. There's been a lot of growling, a lot of snarling, and it seems as though Nat.Geo and Nkuhuma have decided to show quite a bit of interest again in Amber Eyes, as well as the youngest lioness of the Nkuhuma Pride. So Mr. Nkuhuma, who is hiding behind this thorn tree, and he's very lucky that he's hiding there, because Amber Eyes and one of the other lionesses is not happy with him at all, and they keep growling at him. You can see they're sitting here. And Nat.Geo, and it looked like the youngest lioness, are actually a little bit further back down the road. And he is keeping her... Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, girl. I didn't mean to give you a fright. I just did the biggest sneeze and then I gave the lion a fright. Now you can see Amber Eyes is the one that's doing all the snarling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and actually move up a little bit further forward. Oh no, I've come undone. Right, let's shoot a little bit further forward, just so we can see if we can get a better view perhaps of Mr. Nkuhuma. Okay, no, he's tucked away quite nicely. Now, if you have just started watching us, it's really great to have you here this fine sunny day in South Africa. And this is a live interactive show, so if you'd like to chat to myself or Evia and Brent a little bit later when he decides to take his pajamas off, you can either do so by hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter, or if you don't have a Twitter account, you're welcome to send us an email to questions@wildearth.tv. And you can ask anything you like, anything about the lions that we're looking at or the elephants that Evia had, and we'd love to have a chat with you. Now, Amber Eyes has decided to follow on. She was contact calling to the rest of the pride, and I suspect that Nkuhuma is going to get up and follow them soon, but at the moment he's got his head turned away from him, and I think he's trying to keep an eye out or perhaps spot Tinyo and the youngest lioness. But I think they're still a little bit further down. Good morning, Captain Awesome. What a wonderful name to have. Now you're wondering if Nkuhuma has still got his chameleon jewelry on. We shall investigate his mane when he decides to move away from all the thorn trees. At the moment, I think he's licking his wounds because he did get a swat to the face. I watched him just while they were very quickly drinking water. And I think he's feeling a little bit sorry for himself. I'm going to go forward again just so we can get a better view of the entire pride, and we'll also have a little look at Nkuhuma's cut underneath his eye, so we'll have a look at that. But like I said, at the moment it's very obscured, so we won't say anything just yet. We'll just have to wait until he comes out, but I don't think it'll be too much longer. I'm going to go around the pride so we can get a better view of the whole pride, and then we'll try and turn in over here. There we go. Ooh, Eggsy, look at this lioness here on the right. Is that Amber Eyes? No, that isn't. Let's just have a look here, because this lioness has got a big wound on her shoulder. Can you see that? Sorry, I'm swatting a fly that keeps getting underneath my hat. Oh, now that's a big gaping hole. But once again, something that you must remember with these animals is that they are prone to getting injuries. They are constantly going to be in fights, especially the females with the males fighting each other. And of course, every now and then, a cub, if it gets in the way, can also become injured. But a wound like this is just superficial. Even though it looks massive and there's clearly a hole and it looks like it could do with a stitch or two, they are so used to this type of thing, and they will heal much quicker than we as humans would heal, even if we were to put any antiseptic and all sorts of healing creams on a wound like that. They'll groom themselves, and that is good enough out in the bush to keep that wound clean. So I'm not sure what would have happened there. Maybe it's a bite mark. Now, Erlene, you were concerned about the cubs, but I've got good news for you. All 6 of them are here, and they are looking healthy. Even my favorite little floppy-eared girl, she's taking a moment out to groom herself. She's the one that's sort of sitting on her bum and doing yoga this morning. There she is. That is an interesting position for a lion, don't you think? Isn't that just so bizarre? And she's looking stronger and better as the day goes on. Now, we're definitely not going anywhere just yet, so we're going to hang around and see how this morning unfolds with the Nkuhumas versus the Birminghams. But I'm going to send you back across onto Evia's vehicle to have a look at the largest African mammal, which has been elusive over the last few days.
Welcome back. These elephants are really treating us. They are all around us on both sides of the road, in front of us, just moving around, feeding here and there, carrying on. There's a nice and big female in front of us here. Something quite apparent with her. Even when she's walking away, you can see she's got a very dominant, or a tusk that's a lot shorter than the other one. The left tusk is a lot shorter, and that would be her dominant side. There's one more elephant in front of us. When this one crosses in front of us, we'll move again and we'll show that dominant side again too. John, you would like to know if there is any elephant poaching in the excuse me, in our area. There hasn't been any cases of elephant poaching. I know closer to the boundaries of the country, on the outskirts of the Kruger National Park up north, there has been 1 or 2 cases, or a couple of cases throughout the year, but majority of the elephant poaching is still happening further north in Africa, East Africa, those areas, rather than down here. I think South Africa is one of the last strongholds of elephant poaching at the moment, and hopefully it'll stay that way and they won't come bother us and our elephants. James, you would like to know what the youngest age is of an elephant calf to be able to eat a marula fruit. I would say after about 6 months to a year, it might be able to lift it up with its trunk. And often these youngsters will mimic what the adults are doing. So if they are around marula fruits and all the adults are having fun and eating them, I couldn't see why these babies wouldn't pick them up and join them. So I would say just under a year would be a very good estimate for when these guys will start eating the nicest stuff like marula fruits. It's almost time for marula season. Courtney from Texas, you would like to know if these babies feed on instinct only, or do the mothers teach them? I think they observe a lot what the adults and older elephants are doing and learn from that which of the plants are better to feed on and which aren't. But I would say there would be a bit of instinct in it as well, but a lot of it is from observing the herd and what they are doing. Where we are sitting now, we can smell them. Elephants have got quite a strong, musky type of smell, so if you're close enough to them and in the right direction with the wind, it's quite a strong smell you get in the morning. There's a lovely smell to get though. Folks, we're going to stick with these elephants for as long as we can before they disappear into the bush. While we do that, let's go see what the Lion Pride is up to. We're going to head back over to Taylor.
There is much grooming going on at the moment. And it's quite nice to see that the lionesses look like they're actually starting to settle down now. Like I said, when we first spotted them, the boys were sort of in a trot. They almost looked like they couldn't really walk. They were so fired up. And just in case you've just started watching, Mr. Tinyo is sitting with the youngest lioness, and Nkuhuma, who's hiding behind some thorn trees, was very, very interested again in amber eyes. But they're keeping their distance from the pride because, well, the girls keep growling and snarling back at the boys. And this is not the first time that we've seen this behavior. I don't blame the girls for acting that way. The boys have been gone for so long. And who knows what they've been up to. But it's good to see the little ones copying their mothers. Now, Vulpine Wolf Girl, you were wondering if I thought that their saliva perhaps had some antibacterial, antibiotic properties in it. I definitely think so, because with all the animals out there, well, that like the dogs and the cats that groom themselves in that way, they always lick open wounds, and we've seen it out here in the wild, and I'm sure you've seen it at home with your dogs, that if it's just a minor injury, sometimes you don't even bother by putting an antiseptic spray on, because the dogs just constantly lick it, and it heals quite well. So I definitely think that there's something in their saliva, or perhaps it's just the process of keeping it nice and clean that's doing it good and preventing any infection. The problem, though, with a wound like that lioness has on her shoulder is that it's in a bit of an awkward spot. You can see it's been weeping quite a bit. And I don't know if she is able to really reach onto her shoulder, though these cats are quite nimble, and they groom themselves in all sorts of places that I thought would never be possible. But they also perform allo grooming, so perhaps one of the other lionesses might even groom that for her and keep it clean. But it will close up. Now, speaking about this lioness, and of course her injury on her shoulder, Rachel, you were wondering at what point would we administer veterinary care to that lioness. Now, Rachel, we wouldn't at all, because this wasn't caused because of human interference. This is most likely, I think it looks like a bite wound. I think either a lioness, two of the lionesses got into a bit of a tiz, or maybe it's from one of the Birmingham boys, because it doesn't look older. I can't remember seeing it yesterday morning. Maybe Evia spotted it in the afternoon. I'll have a chat with him and ask him. So we try to intervene as little as possible out here. Of course, we've come in and we have implemented roads and that type of thing, but that's where it sort of stops and starts. We view the animals from a distance. If they want to come to us, they come to us. We don't drive right on top of them. We give them space. But if somebody were to have come into the property, for instance, and try to poach a rhino, and maybe they shot the rhino, but the rhino didn't die and they didn't get the horn, we would then intervene, because that injury was caused by us as humans. Other than that, if this lioness picks up a severe infection and she does end up passing on, that's nature. That's just one of those things, and that's her genes not meant to survive in this world. Nature only allows for the fittest and the strongest to make it through, and that's why we have droughts or bouts of diseases and those types of things, is that it is to control populations. So this is normal, this is natural. We really don't want to have to try and fix every single animal, otherwise we'll have the weak genes continuing on, and that shouldn't be allowed out here in nature. You imagine if you let all the animals survive and you got to a point where you had a drought, the amount of death that would then be around would be absolutely horrendous, because those weaker genes would have been weeded out throughout the year prior to the build-up of the drought. So it's good that we just sort of observe and take note. It's like when we saw Nkuhuma when he had the injury on his face, and it ended up being a type of myiasis where a fly, maybe a screwworm fly laid its egg inside there, or whether it was one of the botfly species that actually where their pupa, not their pupa, their larvae, sorry, my mind is still asleep, actually feed on living flesh. We weren't sure exactly which type it was, but we watched it, and that was the most amazing thing to see out here in the wild, because most of the cases are always intervened by vets, or it's because it's with domesticated animals, and then we do intervene. And he healed fine. I mean, we were very worried about him. And look at him. He turned out to be wonderful, though he seems to be accident prone. I think if I was a lion, I'd probably be like Nkuhuma if I was a lion, seeing as though the two of us keep injuring ourselves all the time. Now, apparently, there is a video up on about my Aces, so you're welcome to go to the Safari Live page and have a look at that video, in case you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about. And well, I'll let that video do all the talking. Looks like they're settling down though. Some of the cubs still grooming. One lioness fast asleep. Now, Roger, you were also wondering if that injury on that lioness's shoulder could be because of a horn. It definitely could be. It could have been from that buffalo that they took down in Arathusa. I think it looks quite fresh though. Or it could have been something along the way. Even something like an impala. You'd be surprised the damage an impala could do. So what's happening now is they're all getting up and moving. And I'm just trying to shuffle so I don't block your view. But they're now going to look for a nice shady spot, because where they're lying, that shade is going to disappear as soon as the sun pops up higher. But you'll see the cubs creeping around, because there's one lioness that's underneath a big guarri tree just to the left of us. And I think the cubs are going to come around to join her there. That would be a nice spot. But already you can see the sunlight creeping in. Or maybe she's going to lead them off somewhere else. We'll just have to sit and watch them. And isn't this incredible? We've got this entire sighting to ourselves. We actually spotted the lions as they walked past the camp. I just said to Evie, I said, I think I'm going to go and look for the lions, and I was planning to head back to where we saw them yesterday afternoon. And then there were reports that they were at the dam drinking or walking past the dam camp. And just as we were starting up, Eggsy shouts, lions, 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 lions. And I'm standing out the vehicle dawdling, you know, brushing all the dust off of my pants and my shirt because I was wiping down the vehicle. And I thought that they were walking right next to us, but they were just in the distance. But they came right up to say good morning to us at the DRC. Where are you going? Right. They just settled down over there now. No, they're still going. Well, let's follow them. What do you think, Eggsy? Are you ready to follow? Are you ready to off-road? I'm sure you've missed it. Eggsy hasn't been out with us for such a long time. He told me how much he misses driving through the bushes with me. Especially when we get big moths and things like that jump out on the guarri bush. Okay, right. Well, we need to try and somehow get through here without damaging the vehicle too much. I'm only kidding. But I'm going to send you all the way across and see if those elephants are still hanging around Evie's vehicle.
We have lost visual of the elephants from the road that we were on, so we're just patrolling the next road in the direction that they were moving in. I'm going to turn around just up front and then head back down on this road, see if they want to show themselves again. It might take a couple of minutes. It looks like it's a relatively big block and there's quite a bit of feeding to be done, so let's quickly turn around here and head back down. Maybe we get lucky and they pop out again. Michael, you would know if I have a favorite elephant encounter that I could tell you about. I definitely do. I can't explain exactly why things happened like it happened. But a couple of years ago, there was an elephant that died of a group of males, and this one specific male of that group we've spent quite a bit of time with. He used to live around the lodge that I worked at, and that specific day we were with lions on this elephant carcass, and they were feeding on this elephant carcass, and the male that we used to see a lot and two other males walked in. They chased the lions off, and when the lions moved off away from the carcass, these guys tried to lift the bones, lift the legs, try and almost wake this elephant up. And with all that, I don't know why, but there was a lot of moisture dripping from the trunk onto this carcass. So that is the first time I really saw elephants mourning. And almost to the date, about a year later, that same male, I saw him in the distance on game drive, and I saw he was heading to that area where that elephant had passed away. And I decided I'm going to head straight to where that carcass was. Went there, sat there and waited for him to come. And when he got there, he started picking up the bones of this elephant. Just picked them up, played with it a little bit, put them down again, and off he went. So it's almost like he went back to sort of make an anniversary out of it, go and say hello to his fallen comrade. So that was quite a touching sighting from that perspective. Let's keep moving a bit, see if we can get these guys again. That specific male, he used to visit our staff village as well at the lodge. And a couple of mornings and during the day when you're back home and in your room and you walk out, you get this lump of a body standing in front of your door, or drinking out the swimming pool when you want to go and have a swim. And you first had to let him do his thing before you could do anything. It's the one nice thing with male elephants and the older males, they tend to hang around in certain areas. So you get to know them quite well and spend more time with them than the breeding herds. The breeding herds will move around a lot more and just go after the best feeding. I think the older males are a little bit lazy in that extent, or they've just realized I am in an area, there is water, there is food, there's no need for me to travel huge amounts, so I'll just wait for the females to come back. It sounds like Taylor has not broken the vehicle trying to follow those lions, so let's go and see what she's up to. And with the lions, what they're up to.
Evia, I think you mean to say Taylor has not broken the vehicle yet. Because, well, we know what happened the other day when I did the smallest amount of off-roading and I broke the brake fluid line. That was interesting. Driving around with no brakes for a while, but we managed. Now, my favorite little girl in the whole entire world has decided to come and get some tender love and care from her mother. Isn't that beautiful, that interaction? Now she's going, right, I'm hungry now. Thanks, Mom, for the groom. No, is that even your mother? Or are you just taking a chance, young lady? Right, so I'm just going to give an update on the radio very quickly. Good morning to Madoda and Gala, as well as the Nkuhuma Shlambi. We just off the shortcut that runs from Shortcut Gallagher to the Pan. It's just myself here. They're now mobile though in a westerly direction, back towards towards Aubrey's almost. But you should get my visual off Shortcut, Gallagher Shortcut Junction. Just let Taxon know, and Aubrey. Copy, no matata, both of you can make your approach. Hello, little girl. Now, the reason why she's my favorite little cub is because she's from the teddy bear, the teddy bear, so she was one of the youngest, but unfortunately 2 of her siblings didn't make it. And she is such a fighter because she's overcome mange. She had a really bad bout of mange and her ear flopped so badly, it almost looked like it flopped in half. Actually, I don't know if she's the last one of the teddy bears. She does. She's definitely the smallest. And then, of course, the white muscle disease that came around from the buffalo not eating good quality grass. Well, it wasn't their fault, unfortunately. There was just no grass around for them to feed on. And then that, in turn, affected the lions. And we lost 2 cubs from the white muscle disease. But now it seems as though the mange has got a little bit bad again. But she keeps grooming herself, and every time we see her, she does look a little bit better. This is what I think. And I try and take a photo of her every time I see her, so that we can put it together and, of course, be able to make a bit of sense of it and see how much she is improving. But the girls are on the move again. So we're going to follow them too, but we'll let the other guides very quickly get into the sighting. But seeing as though we're sitting so close to Nkuhuma, let's have a look at his wound on his face. If you have a look there, you can see a little bit of a wound. Now, it feels like I haven't seen this lion in such a long time. Now, I'm hoping he's going to turn his head. I actually don't know. The last time I saw this male lion was probably about 3 weeks ago now, maybe 3.5 weeks ago. It's been that long, maybe even 4 weeks ago. So I can't even remember if his wound on his face completely healed from the myositis injury, because that looks like what that is, the hole closest to his nose. But then he has got another gash underneath his eye. There we go, you see? Look. Oi. You watch your step. That's what Amber Eyes was saying towards him. Don't you get too close to me. I'm not interested in you. Now let's see if he's going to sulk. Oh no, he's probably going to try and test urine. No, no one urinated there. Sorry, my man. And off he goes in hot pursuit of Madam Amber Eyes. And of course, on the way through, why not scent mark? And it's good because they've been off the property for such a long time now that it's important that they re-walk the animal pathways. You can see how he's just rubbing his cheeks up against the leaves. He might urine spray. Yes, there he goes. Just to re-establish dominance in this area, because if there were any young male lions that would have come through here, there probably wouldn't have been a strong smell, a strong scent marking area from these male lions. We need to catch up with them now. And that's probably the most important thing for them to do at the moment. Right, we're going to very quickly shoot back across to Evia, who's done a sterling job of tracking down those elephants.
We have got them again. We'll see how long we can stay with them. They've just crossed over this road, still heading in an easterly direction. I wonder, the way they're moving, Viam, do you think they might come past Djuma Pan at some stage during the day?
They're sort of going in that general direction.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get some footage of them during the day as well. Just move up a little bit. It's been such a treat to spend so much time with these elephants. Raphael, you would like to know how elephants sleep at night, especially with lions around and being able to kill them. Lions generally don't take on these big creatures. They would much rather put an effort into maybe kill a buffalo or something than go for elephant. But elephants do lie down every now and then. I've seen a lot of tracks of them during winter months on big termite mounds, and they use the angle of the termite mound to lie down on. They don't. The bigger ones don't really like lying down flat. It's quite tough for them to get up. You can just imagine a body of maybe 5 tons having to push that back up onto its legs. It'll be quite tough. The youngsters, they sleep often. The babies will sleep in the shade of the mother on a hot day. It's amazing how the mothers keep these babies in the shade almost constantly so that they don't overheat. Scoot forward here a couple of meters. This one is really enjoying a bit of longer grass. Laura, you would like to know if elephants ever charge at the vehicles. They can sometimes get upset with you and make a run at you. I think with the distance part, it's always important to look at their behavior when you decide to stop somewhere. If you can tell that they relaxed, like this elephant, there's no signs of him being aggressive or uncomfortable with us at all. It's just carrying on with its daily routine, feeding. There's no head up, head lifted, ears fanned out type of approach. Then you can let them do their thing. I always say, give them a bit of space, and if they want to come closer to you and they're comfortable with you, they will. And then just keep checking their behavior. If they start doing things that you don't want them to do, you give them space. They've got right of way out here, and we are just observers in their habitat. He's gonna cross the road just in front of us. Oh, yeah, it is a young male. Shame this guy is lurking at the outskirts of this herd. I think he's also at that age where it's time for him to move on, but he still doesn't really want to accept that, and he keeps following the herd. Just stays on the outside. If he does get too close, he'll get pushed away. Quite interesting when they're feeding on grass. When they pull the grass out, they clean off the roots quite a bit, and often they don't bite into the roots as well. The soil will ground their teeth down a lot quicker, so they're quite smart in protecting their teeth and looking after their health by doing that. Another very memorable encounter I've had with elephant was I've got to a herd of elephants just after one of the females had given birth. So what happened is, with the whole birth process, the rest of the herd kind of encircle the female that's giving birth, as if to assist her through the process and also give added protection in this vulnerable time, and then give the baby a large welcome from all sides when it does arrive. A lot of noise coming from a birth like that, a lot of excitement from the elephants, trumpeting. You can just imagine the joy that they have bringing this new life into the world. Dion, you would like to know if the matriarch dies, if the next oldest female takes over as the matriarch. Most of the time I would say that happens, but I do think every now and then you might get a younger female that is just more dominant and maybe has a bit more personality and leadership, will take over the role of matriarch as well. It is crazy to think that where these elephants can move and how they move and just how quietly they move with those massive bodies. It's quite interesting that a lot of the road networks through mountain passes coming into the Lowveld was built on old elephant paths when they used to migrate in the older days, move into different areas for feeding. I've seen elephant dung in the weirdest places, on little rocky outcrops that us as humans struggle getting on. And then, these guys just climb up very easily. It looks like these elephants are disappearing. We've had a lovely action-packed morning with this biggest land mammal of Africa and the world. We're going to keep moving and see what else wants to join us on the safari this morning. Wiem, should we go and check if Karula maybe wants to show herself this morning? Maybe head around Twin Dams, go check that area. Donald, you would like to know, with elephants using pools, swimming pool water I don't think bothers them too much. Water is water at the end of the day, and I think the visual effect of swimming pool water being clean and looking clean does attract them to it as well. They're quite fussy when it comes to water and would rather, like, if there's a dirty static pool of water and they can dig for water, they'd rather get that fresh water and utilize that. I think it's gonna turn into a scorcher of a day. You can feel it heating up very quickly this morning. I wonder if we're gonna have both of the big cats on our area this morning. It's gonna be interesting to see if we can pick up some tracks of Karula. Ah, there's a Black Bellied Bustard flying. Almost looks like a Boeing that's passing us. Huge wingspan, massive bird. Folks, while we keep searching for the elusive leopard, we're going to head over to Brent and see what he's got on Bushwalk.
Always look on the bright side of life. Well, we haven't got anything just yet, and it seems like all my plans for the morning have been ruined. As I'm saying, that's why I say always look on the bright side of life. I was going to look for elephants, Effie found them. I was going to look for lions, Taylor found them. So we're going to do butterflies and flowers. So I'm hoping that quarantine is going to be spectacular with the little things today. Bugs, insects, wildflowers, and maybe a scorpion or two. I'll try not to hit Dave with my stick because he's on camera today. He's about to fall into a hole that he doesn't know. There we go. Well done, Dave. So we've got Dangerous Dave on camera, and of course my name is Brent Smith. Remember, this is 100% live bushwalk, and if you want to ask me any questions about the hohos, now a hoho is a South Africanism for a bug, a spider, or anything that creeps and crawls. Remember the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or pop us an email to questions@wildearth.tv. And we have a vast expanse of Djuma private game reserve for our morning walk. And of course, we're going to try and look for the more obscure flowers and creatures this morning. I'll start off with a flower, a beautiful little flower that's got a bit of a dangerous edge. There we go. Let me turn it around for you. Now, this is called a poison apple, a solanum. It doesn't have any apples on it at the moment, but it gets these very wonderful round little fruit. It's very closely related to the tomato family. And when the fruit is green, you can die when you eat it, but when it's ripe, it's completely safe. And in Madagascar, of all places, you get the same species of solanum, and it is a coming of age ceremony where the young men of the tribe all eat solanum because it's so dangerous, but they always eat it when it's ripe, because if they ate it when it was green, there would be no tribe left. So there we go, solanum. And it's so wonderful. Now that it's rained, it's green everywhere, the flowers are starting to pop up everywhere. So we're going to try and find some obscure flowers and obscure bugs today. Now, I would like to know about my walking stick. Now, this is my favorite walking stick. And when we started doing bushwalks, just before Big Cat Week, oh, this is amazing. And we'll get to this shortly, Mary. So we started doing walks on a full-time basis just before Big Cat Week last week, and me being me, I've got, I think what the technical term is ADHD, and don't take anything for it, but I was walking through the bush and I realized on Bushwalk my hands are always going all over the place, so I picked the stick and that's to try help me not run all over the place. But there's actually a very good reason to this. I've actually thrown this said stick at buffalo before. Now I believe in walking without a firearm. Of course we do have Herbie running defense for us, let's say, but most of the walks I do in the bush, I don't believe I want to shoot anything, and I believe my experience and skill will get me out of trouble, and often a well-aimed shout or a launch of a stick is enough to stop a charging animal. Now what I found here, well, it's a perfect little round ball. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, I'm going to let you guess. So if you know what this perfect little round ball is, send your answers through to #SafariLive or questions@WildEarthTV. I'm going to pop it in my pocket, and until anyone guesses what it's right, and then we'll discuss it a bit more. Let's carry on. Come on, Dave, come. Now, for finding obscure flowers, we need to look deeply between the more common flower species and well, what we call weeds. Now, of course, out in the bush, weeds are indigenous, and they are specialist plants that colonize areas that have been disturbed. So, of course, quarantine is heavily disturbed because it was cleared many years ago. So, if you look carefully on quarantine, you actually found there's very little grass. Got grass coming up. In between the grass, we've got this yellow fibrous flower that doesn't actually have an English name, and there we go, there's some grass, and we've got some devil thorns growing. So what happens is that the weeds or fibrous plants will colonize an area, bringing the seeds, the soil together, the soil together, and eventually over time the grass species should take over. Now, quarantine used to have a lot of grass, but the drought ended up causing a massive die out of a lot of the grass species. So what's happened now is we've got a lot of weeds that are recolonizing, and weeds are not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to take a couple of years as the weeds recolonize, change the nitrate levels in the soil, and the grass will be able to come back. In certain patches there's lots of grass. Oh, I'm so happy. How happy are you, Dave? Because my favorite lily, or my second favorite lily we get at Djuma, this is called a candy striped crinum. So if any of you have ever had a round candy, or what are they, like those Christmas candies, aren't they? The candy cane. This is where this plant gets its name from, because look at that, you can see the stripes of the candy striped crinum. This poor candy striped crinum has been munched on by some offending insect. It has eaten all the petals. But if we come round, Dave, to the freshly erupted flowers, look at that. How beautiful is that? Now you always want to check inside the crinum flowers to see if there are any bugs or insects that are eating them. Now you got to be quite careful when handling a candy striped crinum, because it is quite noxious. Isn't that absolutely stunning? I love this flower. Now, we've seen this this flower that has been munched on, and that one's started to be munched on. We've got a couple of flowers that haven't even erupted yet, but normally, as you know, we look for tracks and dung, but you can even find the tracks and dung of insects. So I can see how this flower has been munched, and if I look below, there's a whole bunch of beetle poo on the leaves below. So something has munched extensively on this. I wonder what it is. Now, whatever insect it is, it's got to be quite a strong insect, or it's either very immune to poisons, or it's sequestering poison. So a lot of insect species become poisonous from what they eat. So when they eat it, they are able to digest and put those poisons through into their body, making them noxious, like the acria or monarch butterflies, and certain beetle species as well. So I just wonder what could be eating this candy striped crinum. Now we get two types of crinums here, and this is the less common of the two, with these beautiful pink stripes, the candy stripe. We get one that's a lot more white that I've definitely shown you before, and that is the river crinum, and that doesn't have these beautiful pink stripes down the middle of the petals. Now, speaking of something that's beautiful and brightly coloured and also very noisy, let's go have a look at what it is with Taylor.
Oh, Brent, I thought you were going to say that you were also going to head over to something that's beautiful and brightly coloured and also noisy, because I think that fits my description quite well. I'm obviously just joking. So we put a little bit more air in our tyre. It looks like we just had a slow puncture, so nothing that we really need to change just yet. But we're going to head back towards those lions, which are just down the road here. I hope they're still here. Let's go and have a look. They didn't look like they were going to go too far. Right. Now, maybe what we'll even do is maybe we'll go back, if the rest are there, maybe we'll go all the way around and see if we can pick up on Tino and that other lioness and see what they're getting up to. Okay. I still see vehicles here, so I think let's go see if we can find the other two. We're being waved by some guests to go this way, so I don't know what they're waving at, but we'll go and investigate. Oh, there they are. Ah, okay, so they're coming. They're coming closer and closer, like what we've seen before. It's just sitting a little further away from the pride. Oh, just made it. Eggsy, be careful of these trees. These trees have got lots of thorns on them. Nasty buffalo thorns. Okay, we're going to sneak in here. And I think we'll get a little look. I'm going to poke my nose just through here. I'm going to park myself in some trees. But as long as you all can see. Now, Roger, you were wondering if these lions are in the same spot that they were in yesterday. They're not too far. They are probably about a mile away, so relatively close. I think they just did a little circuit, came through the drainage line, went to the dam where the dam cam is, and then came back out again onto quarantine. Maybe they were looking for something to eat, because they don't look particularly full, especially the males. But look how nicely Tinyor's mane is coming along. It's getting nice and dark. I reckon in the next 6 months their manes are going to be almost black. Maybe not all of them, but definitely Tinyor's, and Mfumo's is also starting to go. But one thing that I have noticed, now bearing in mind that these male lions don't look like they've got anything in their stomach, is that Mfumo is definitely bigger in body size compared to Tinyor. He's much more muscular. He's got bigger shoulders, bigger hindquarters, and they've both got really impressive manes. And I've done this for the last few years. Every time I see lions, I think, oh, they're not so big. They're not really that wonderful. And then I always forget that they're so young. So when they're at about 5.5 years old, they're really scraggly looking things. Haven't quite got a well-established mane. Still building up on their muscle tone. But I can't tell you the improvement that has happened since I've been here for the past 3 months. Just watching these Birmingham boys grow. They are really turning into lovely, strong lions. Now, I'm also not sure if these two are mating. There's been a lot of growling, but I haven't seen any mating going on just yet. But maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see something. Now, a very interesting question has just been posed by Ellen from Arkansas. And Ellen, you were wondering if there is a possibility that the Nkuhuma lionesses could smell maybe the sticks or even the torchwood lionesses on the Birmingham boys, and what would that do? Now, there's definitely a possibility. I don't know if these lionesses would be upset by something like that, as we know lions are not monogamous, and I don't think they really think like we as humans think. So I don't think it would be too much of an issue. I think it's just that the Nkuhumas do not like the Birmingham boys at all. And you can clearly see it. And I've told this story 167 times, I think, but it's my favorite story. Because when I first started working in the Sabi Sand and the four-ways males were with the Southern Pride, I've never seen lionesses that were so infatuated with male lions. They loved them. If they called, the females would respond by roaring back, and there was always the most amazing greeting ceremony that went on. Everybody loved each other. That's just what it looked like. Everyone had a good relationship with each other. And then when the four-ways got chased away and the Charlestons came in, those lionesses behaved very much like the Nkuhuma lionesses behaved towards the Birminghams. Always growling, snarling, very little social interaction. However, we did see some nice interaction at one point, just before I went on leave, with Mfumo and the Pride, how he waited patiently and eventually edged closer and greeted every single lioness in the Pride, which was really nice to see. But he was also on his own. He wasn't with Mr. Tinyo. And every time Mr. Tinyo's around, there's always sort of slight aggravation that goes on with the entire Pride. And that's to be expected, though. This is what happens, is that these male lions will fight with each other, and there's always going to be tension as to who is the dominant male. And we know that Tinyo and Mfumo seem to be the two that hang around with the Pride the most. Occasionally, Nena, which we haven't seen for a very long time, pops through. But he keeps his distance. Now, something that I watched many years ago, and I can't remember who did the production, and this goes along with Michael's question that he's asked this morning. So I'll quickly just tell you what Michael's asked, and then I'll tell you about the documentary that I watched. So, Michael, you were saying that many scientists believe that the darker manes on lions are more attractive. You were saying, is this true? Because Tinyo's mane is clearly darker than Mfumo's, but Mfumo is the one that seems to do most of the mating with the lionesses. Now, something that you all need to remember is that these are still young males. Yes, they've established themselves in this area from quite a young age, but they also had strength and numbers on their side. So it was easy for them to come through and chase the old boys out. Now that they're getting older, we're going to really start to see their personalities develop and just their whole behavior change, and we're going to see who's the dominant one. And their manes are obviously getting bigger and bigger. You can see the mane is now creeping over their shoulders. Eventually, their hair will join on their sort of shoulder down towards their elbows. And sometimes the mane gets so big that it comes right underneath their stomach as well. And then, of course, it's going to go black. But not all lions have that dark mane genetics. So there's some areas, and I remember down in the Eastern Cape where we had Kalahari male lions. And they were brought in, obviously, from the Kalahari. And they're notorious for having dark manes. But there was one offspring that ended up having the blondest of blonde manes. And well, he's doing very well. The lionesses have accepted him, and they love him just as much as the other ones that have got darker manes. They seem to sort of show affection towards him. Now, the documentary that I watched was, they made these, I don't know if they were robotic, but I remember watching this when I was very young, and I was obviously starting to become very interested in wildlife. And they made these lions, and I think they put like a pheromone of a lion onto them so that they smelt, and they didn't smell sort of artificial. But one had a dark mane and the other had a blonde mane. And the prouder lionesses eventually came walking up to them and were a bit hesitant. And these lions weren't moving. They were completely still because they weren't real. And straight away, these lionesses moved towards the darker maned lion and sort of nudged heads with him. Eventually, they picked up that these things were not real. But that was just amazing how they went straight to the male with the darker mane. So, I think possibly when these male lions get a little bit older and they start to look a little bit more attractive, if I can use that word, towards these lionesses, perhaps their behavior will start to change. We just have to be able to wait and see what happens when these boys get nice dark manes and see if the female's relationship towards them sort of, becomes a little bit more friendly, a little bit more warmer. But we can continue this discussion, but before the little insect that Brent flies away, let's go back across to him.
Debuting for the first time on Safari Live, it is an Acrea species, my favorite family of butterflies. It is a window Acrea. It is a female. The males are far more orange, and this particular Acrea is being very becoming by not flying away. Isn't this exciting? And there we go. It picked up on my footsteps. Isn't this wonderful? Okay, so are we ready? We've got the butterfly checklist. The pen that Eggsy gave me, because I don't own a pen. So there we go, the window Acrea. So there we go, that's the female, and you can see the male quite orange. So yay, we get to tick. Tick. Now, if we go this way, I did see a dancing Acrea, another member of the Acrea family, but I think it has made its dance. Oh no, there it is, Dave. Here we go. The second member of the Acrea family, that is the dancing Acrea. I just wanted to make sure that it is, and I'm not lying to you. I want to look at the wings. It is most definitely a male dancing Acrea. Davy, if you come around to where I am, oh no, maybe it'll do it for you. Now, you notice their flight pattern is very jumpy. They're not really quick flyers. Now, they don't have to be, but first before we go into that, we've got another one on our list, dancing Acrea. Tick. Now, the reason they're such flighty flyers, and they're not very fast flying flyers, is because they are highly noxious. And we were talking about noxious insects and when we were at that crime rally. Now, normally on an area like this, I don't have to go too far, although no fly. Oh, here we go. The flowers are not quite out yet, but this is a very important plant species if you're an Acrea butterfly. It is called a Wolfaria indica. It does not have an English name. It's so cool, it only rolls in Latin. And this is the host species for the majority of the Acrea butterflies, and it's highly noxious. So when the caterpillars feed off this particular plant, it sequestrates hydrogen cyanide, which makes the adults very noxious, which means they can fly very easily about and sort of very la-di-da, so to speak, because none of the birds want to eat them because they are foul tasting and probably quite noxious. Now, oh dear, I've forgotten, but a few of you were spot on with this into what it is. I mean, it looks like a ball of clay that's been made by a human. I think there was Safari, Dean, and a few other people who got it spot on. This is a dung beetle ball. Now what's happened, and Diane and Larry also got it spot on correct. So what's happened is this dung beetle has made this ball, and then this dung beetle has been eaten by something, possibly a woodlands kingfisher. We've seen them tear apart a poor dung beetle. So what's happened is this dung beetle has expired and left this ball on the surface, and some other insects have managed to burrow in and eat the eggs or the larvae, or maybe just eat the dung. It's It's very difficult to say, but this is really cool. It's very seldom you find them intact like this on the ground, so I'm going to keep it in my pocket for the tent, and we're going to keep searching for butterflies. And speaking of things that fly, Effie's got something that's a little bit easier to get on camera than a flutterby. Let's go have a look.
Welcome back. We've got two Burchell starling moving around on a very old leadwood. It looks like they may be looking for a space to make a nest. They've been up and down walking around on this tree the whole, maybe for 5 minutes or so already, sticking their heads into every cavity they see, maybe see if they'll fit and see if it'll be a good place. You can see that must be the male with all that funny head movements and a bit of calling, trying to impress the female. I wonder if she's impressed by all that. Woodland kingfisher calling in the distance. I reckon this branch that they're on must be relatively good, because they've been on this branch only the entire time that we've been with them. Why not the edge there? It looks like a big chunk has fallen off and broken off. Maybe that's a nice cavity for them. They keep walking down and then back into that cavity, so maybe that's going to be their nest. He goes, maybe he's chasing around another bird. He was chasing a fork-tailed drongo, not wanting the drongo anywhere close to where they want to make their nest. He's on his way back. He's about to land. He's gone past the female. He's sitting on the opposite branch. And he carries on with his dance. I wonder for how long she's gonna give him the cold shoulder. She just keeps going on, carrying on with what she needs to do. Back into that cavity he goes. She's not showing too much interest. Who are you going to chase off now? There was a purple roller that just flew off. VM, do you think we'll get it in front here? It is below the starling, go down a little bit more. There we go. Purple roller. And VM was telling me earlier that the rollers were nesting in this old leadwood. So maybe there's a bit of competition for a nest site. but they're not really chasing each other around too badly. Kerry, you would like to know if birds often use the same nesting sites? I haven't seen it too much. The only ones that will really nest together often is the communal type birds that will live in bigger communities. So your weavers, something like your red-billed buffalo weaver or your southern masked weavers that have those little ball nests, and there's a lot of them together with lesser masked weavers and with the red-billed buffalo weavers. They make those very rough, big nests, and they all live in one nest together. So I don't know if the rollers is still, if they are still nesting here. Maybe they've decided to move on, and these starlings can just take over. If it was the same cavity, who knows? Folks, we're gonna head on. We're gonna keep searching, see if there's any tracks for leopard coming into our area. While we do that, let's go see what those big lazy cats are up to. We're gonna head back over to Taylor.
Now there's quite a bit of growling going on at the moment. Now it was very, very interesting because two of the lionesses got up and went and sat at the feet of Nkuhuma, and that's of course when they started to show their teeth and a couple of growls were heard. They're very, very unhappy with him being here, and you can see that he's not acting defensively. Sorry, not defensively, aggressively. He's just trying to hide himself. But this is also very typical behavior of Nkuhuma. It's not the first time we've seen this, where he's been gone for quite some time and he comes back and he has to re-establish those bonds with the females. And it does take some time, and I think he understands that. I think lions are a lot more intelligent than the credit that we give them. And I think he knows, and I think that's why he just sat there and he let them snarl and growl, and when one swiped at him, he just acted defensively. He wasn't going to try and attack them, like what we've seen occasionally. And that's why I like Nkuhuma so much. I love his personality. And I really think that he's going to be an incredible lion. And he works really hard with his lionesses. He's got such a high tolerance for the cubs. He lets them jump on his back and bite his mane and pull his tail. And you'll see him just sitting there. So Kirsty just told me that you're all saying that and joking, and you said that the only reason why the lionesses are behaving like this is because they're hangry. I can tell you stories about being hangry. It is the worst feeling in the whole world, isn't it? And maybe that's it. And maybe that's why Nkuhuma's being so tolerant, because he doesn't want to ruin his chances of perhaps getting a free meal. Isn't it strange from seeing the Nkuhumas constantly feeding almost every single day, if not twice a day, to actually seeing them looking on the lean side? But a couple of clouds have come over now, which is quite nice because it's holding off the harsh rays of the sun. And it's actually really, it's lovely and pleasant out here. There's a gentle breeze. Let's see now. Nkuhuma is up again, and I'm sure he'll follow, but he'll keep his distance. Off they go. One behind the other. Follow my leader. You'll just see Texan's just trying to give him a bit of space because they've come right up to his vehicle. I think he might actually want to lead the sighting, so we'll just let him carry on reversing and head out, and we're probably going to continue following these lions now that they're up. Just going to sit up now. Hello. Are you fumbling? Oh, okay. Right. Let's follow these lines and see where they go. Oh, so obviously with all that growling that happened, Nat.Geo is obviously quite curious. You can see him standing through the thicket with the youngest lioness, just keeping a close eye on the rest of the gang. And this younger lioness, she doesn't seem to be too bothered by Nat.Geo's presence. You can see him marking. She hasn't really growled at him. She doesn't seem unhappy with him sort of standing on her toes all the time. But let's follow the rest of the pride. I think it'll be nice if we get behind them. Let's go 4x4. Let's jump in front of them. Let's try and go around here. This is an easier gap, I think. Right, we are going to attempt to find an easy way through and keep following the lions. But let's go back across and take a little walk with Brent.
Well, at least Taylor Twinkletoes is faster than Two-Step Tony the Tortoise. But look at this. This is my first ladybird or ladybug of the season. And isn't it absolutely gorgeous? I'm going to try. It might be a little. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely stunning? There's no human artist in the world that could emulate something this pretty. I mean, the perfect symmetry in the markings, and it's sitting. Oh, it wants to go underneath. It's feeling a bit scared. Oh, let me let go. I don't want it to fall off. They don't have the best grip on things, but interestingly enough, it's got that red and black coloring, which means it's also noxious. And guess what plant it's feeding on? The WildEarthTV indica, obviously. I mean, I know you guys knew that, but if we creep, I was being stalked during that last segment by Two-Step Tony's cousin, One-Step Timothy. Hello, little one. Here we go. Another Speaks hinged tortoise. Not looking quite as worried as Two-Step Tony, but then again, I'm not a leopard picking it up in my jaws. Don't worry, One-Step Timothy, I'm not going to pick you up with my mouth. I always find it incredibly fascinating. I'm being careful, I don't want it to void its bowels. If you look at those incredible claws that we can see in the tracks, and just, I always find it amazing when you look very closely. Oh, One-Step Timothy's reversing. Now it's a Speaks hinged tortoise. Now I wonder, he's not scared enough to tuck himself in. He's like, what are these people doing? But I really love their claws. I mean, it looks on the foot. Let me just try. You got the foot there, Dav?
Just a bit obscured. Let me come closer.
Okay. I found that their feet incredibly fascinating because they almost look like they're backwards. They look like they're the wrong way around. Oh, he's got a tick in his armpit as well. This is actually quite an old Speaks hinged tortoise, even though they are quite small. You can see the fraying on the edge of the shell here, and you can see how smooth the shell has become. So it's quite an old tortoise. Hey, mister. Or missus. Only way to tell mister or missus is actually to pick them up. But we don't want to do that. Now, even though it's summer and it's probably safe to pick up a tortoise, what happens when you do pick up a tortoise, they normally void their bowels, and that's their defense strategy apart from having this incredibly hard carapace. And unfortunately, that's 80% of their water that they retain in their body, because being a tortoise, let's just let the bush go very slowly, very slowly. So being a tortoise, it takes a long time to get between water points, and that's why we don't pick up tortoises. So it's not sitting high enough to tell whether it's a male or female. So what we look for male and female tortoises is you actually look under the belly. So the males actually have a sort of concave belly, and that's obviously, it's quite hard to make babies when you've got a big heavy armored shell on your back. So they need that concaved belly so they don't sit flush on the other shell and fall off and end up upside down. So I don't want to disturb this tortoise too much. I mean, I actually still feel so bad for the tortoises after two-step Tony last night running away from the leopard. Now, Android Gaming is wondering something, which I suppose is a very good question, is can turtles or tortoises leave the shell? No. They are actually, their sinew, their whole body is actually ingrained in the shell. So the shell is part of their body. It is part of their bones. I'm going to try to think. I'm going to get you guys a picture of what the inside of a tortoise shell looks like. So it is absolutely incredible. So that is actually an extension of its skeleton. So its sinews, its tendons and whatnot are connected to the shell, so it can't leave the shell. So all those cartoons about tortoises or turtles leaving the shell are not factually correct. They're about as factually correct as the Lion King. And if I ever see a herd of wildebeest run over a male lion, I will eat my hat. Okay. Now, I'm slowly moving towards one of my favorite trees on quarantine, where we found that incredible olive bark scorpion that had 22 babies on her back. Sorry, my earpiece is falling out. Let me just rearrange. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go have a look around there to see if that olive bark scorpion's in the same place. Oh, this is wonderful. Hello? Anyone at home? Just some violin spiders in the dark. So isn't that incredible how the heartwood has been eaten by termites and other insects. My goodness, my language is leaving me this morning. But the dead layer from around the edge of the bark that would have been dead even when the tree was alive, well, not dead as per se, but no nutrient in it, has survived. Oh, it's amazing when you start looking closely. Dave, come over here. Come over here, David. David, come. David, faster. Look down there. There is the home of a bushveld gerbil, a little rodent, about the same size as a rat, but much prettier and much cuter looking with a shorter tail. That is not an active bushveld gerbil hole, so he's either been eaten by a leopard or a bird of prey. Oh, sorry about this. Just give me 1 second. This earpiece is giving me a hard time. Okay. because generally when you find a bushveld gerbil, and I'm going to try to find one that's active, you see there's a bunch of grass seeds around the outside. They're very fastidious cleaners, so they're always cleaning their burrow, taking the food out that they haven't eaten, the husks of grass, little insect carapaces. So that one was the home of the bushveld gerbil. Now, another bushveld gerbil might take it over. Okay, let's keep moving towards where the scorpion again, quite. Oh, butterfly. This way, this way. I want to just disturb it. Now, behind it to see which one it is. It is another one of my favorite butterfly family. I think it could be another. Oh, let's see. What we found is with butterflies, every time your shadow gets on them, so I had to just go wide. I just needed to open its wings. Open sesame. No, that didn't work. So it could be a dancing acrea, but I thought I saw too many spots. So it could very easily be a little acrea. I need... Ooh. Oh, so beautiful. It is not the dancing acrea. It is another acrea species. I don't know if the little acrea, which is one I know quite... There we go. No, it's not on my checklist. But that was a little acrea. Unfortunately, the one problem with butterfly checklists and things is they tend to have the more common species. As soon as you go into something slightly more complicated, they tend to fail. I do have that very complicated, very big butterfly book that was definitely made for a scientist, because it is the most... I don't know how to describe it. It is the worst book in the world to use as a human being, and it's not on the list. You know what? We don't need it to be on the checklist because... Oh, I was hoping there was a spare page somewhere. Okay, let's try again. And just like putting pictures on all the pages. So I almost need to carry another piece of paper for the butterflies that aren't on this checklist. Okay, we'll just make a note on the back. Little... I apologize, my handwriting is terrible, and Kirsten says I have to draw it. Yes, anyway, so, Dave, what are you doing, Dave?
I'm just showing you a beautiful picture.
Kirsten says that's dreadful. And Dave, you know what we're going to do when we get back from drive?
What?
We're going to draw a little acrea on Kirsten's face. Okay, let's keep moving towards the scorpion, or where it was at least. So while we do that, let's go see what W do in the car. Oh, I hit myself in the face.
Welcome back. I have just found a new bird for my list. A European roller. I haven't seen one yet, or realized that I saw one this season, so it's great. I've got a new bird to add onto my list. Let me quickly check my list and see how many I've got now. 183 species of birds. So we still haven't had any luck of any leopard sign coming into our area, but at least we've got a bit of excitement out of some birds this morning. I'm quite envious of all of you having such a great time with the lions. It sounds like there's a lot of interaction between the males and the females. That's always a lot of entertainment and nice to watch. It's quite interesting when males come back to a pride like that, the females don't really want to know too much about them for the first bit, and maybe later on they'll start settling down with them again. We'll have to wait and see as the story unfolds. Let's keep moving. Let's see what else wants to pop their head out. Maybe we'll get another new bird.